What's going on, guys? Kpine here and welcome back. And in this video, I'll be featuring the team that got me to legend rank and top 50 in the world in season 23 of the GO Battle League. Talonflame Lead, Furret Safe Swap, and Cradily Closer. Talonflame Lead, oh, it's a secret sauce. Not because of the Brave Bird and Dip potential, but because of the Flame Charge and Fly moveset. Flame Charge has been crucial in this climb. The ability to pull shields with a bluffed Brave Bird, only to ramp up your attack, boost those incinerates, and then spam off +1 flies has been so good. Not only that, but it's been clutch in farming down Cradily, Furret, heck even Swampert. Now this team does function as an ABB style team where the Furret Safe Swap baits out those two main counter users in Blaziken and Obstagoon, the steel types like Ferrothorn, and even Pokemon like Clodsire. And when it's not doing that to set up Cradily, it's flipping Switch or getting shield advantage to set up Talonflame. It really allows for a lot of flexibility in play. Then there's Bullet Seed Cradily in the back as that hard Mudboy answer. I know it's been a little since I posted last on the channel as I've been busy and then took a little time away on vacation, but I had a very strong team last week in the Hisui Cup, where even though I couldn't make a video, I let members of my Discord server know. So if you do want to stay up to date when things like that happen, want to ask questions, or just join the community, there's a link down below in the description. I'd love to see you there. With that shameless plug out of the way, in the first half of this video, I'll be featuring what I believe are important leads and safe swaps that you should know how to play. And in the second half will be the 5-0 run that I went on to hit legend rank. And with that, let's get right to the battles. Alright, getting to the first battle, we lead Talonflame into Shadow Swampert. Absolutely abysmal lead. We're going to safe swap into that Furret. If they allow you to get there first and they do not throw right away, throw your Swift right away. But most Swampert users will Hydro Cannon and then dip out into something else, or they will wait to try and catch that Trailblaze onto something, which is why I'm going for the Swift here. So if they stay in like that, go for the Swift, you'll be fine. The Sucker Punches and Swift will do a lot of damage to the Swampert if they indeed do stay in. If not, pull a shield from them. Where if they make a catch onto the something like an Abomasnow like that, you're able to do a ton of damage and maybe even flip switch if it's something else. But now Furret basically got rid of the Abomasnow. We tanked that Weather Ball, get an Incinerate's worth of energy, and now we're waiting for when that Swampert comes in to pivot into that Cradily. We pivot into the Cradily, and they're actually staying in to throw a Hydro Cannon first, and they're taking massive damage from those Bullet Seeds. The fact that they're staying in makes me wonder what they have in the back, and it's their own Cradily. So even though they were able to pull a shield from me, they're now down a ton of energy in the Cradily mirror. This one's on acid, but by being down that much energy, it allows me to get to 2 rock tombs before they even get to 1, which is very, very nice. Because I can just save my shield for Talon and close out this game from there. You may be thinking, but Kpine, that's a Shadow Swampert. How is your Talon your win condition? Because those Incinerates chunk. Like, it's no joke how much they do to his Shadow Swampert, especially when they're boosted with a Flame Charge. So I do end up getting the first shield for my opponent. I'm just going to let this go. It's a Grass Knot I hang on. And now I'm actually going to bank that move and pivot, because once I do get this farm down of the Swampert, I will leave with a move stored onto my Talonflame. I will be able to get their final shield with a Fly. And then I will reach a second Fly before they get to back-to-back moves, so it forced them to expend energy here, and then my Cradily can safely fire off the Rock Tomb or Grass Knot, whichever one I choose, to take out that Cradily, opposing Cradily. As Rock Tomb does come through and takes it out, and that is a good game. GG's. Next battle, we lead Talonflame into Shadow Pidgeot. Now, you play this out differently if it's a Shadow Pidgeot versus a normal Pidgeot. If it's a Shadow Pidgeot, you're going to want to safe swap into your Furret right away. And if your opponent stays in, you're going to then fire off your Swift right away to offset that turn it takes to switch, or shield advantage, or do some decent damage to the Pidgeot. But the reason why I say you want to swap into your Furret right away is because oftentimes Pidgeot leads will have like one of those counter users, or at the very least something strong to Furret and Cradily in the back, and you want to try and bait that out here. As well as if you stay in with Talon, like the Gust plus Air Cutters do add up, and it's actually kind of unfortunate how it plays out in the 0 or 1 shield scenario, and you just not be able to survive to reach another move. So that way it allows you to get up energy for when that Pidgeot does come back in. Now, if it's a non-shadow Pidgeot, then you'll just stay in with your Talonflame, because that gust to air cutter pressure is most definitely not as threatening as with the shadow. Now we get able to land, we get that shield with the flame charge. And now look at how much these incinerates are doing. I want to go for the fly here before they reach the next air cutter. So that's why I throw, it's not quite optimal timing. And you know, with a 5-turn versus a 4-turn move user, you can't really throw on too optimal timing anyways. But they have a mud boy in the back and this game's over. I just need to make sure I 1 bullet seed off my next rock tomb so I can outpace the Pidgeot, and that is a good game. That's another thing that's very common in the backline behind Pidgeots is a mud boy. So when you bait out that other answer, it kind of leaves like the Cradily for their mud boy too, so, which is very nice. But GG's there. Next battle, Furret Lead, and this isn't quite for the Furret Lead, but for the safe swap. And you play it out a little bit differently based off if it's a shadow or a non-shadow. If it's a non-shadow, I just like to tank this move and go for those swifts, since you will reach 2 swifts before you get farmed out. And then your opponent will be able to get switch advantage, but now you have a 2-shield Talonflame, and your 2-shield Talonflame just gets to incinerate down and shield through that Flygon, and nothing in this cup wants to take Talonflame energy, that much Talonflame energy, unless it's a Magcargo. If it's a Magcargo, then you know, it's just kind of tough luck, but chances are it's not, and Talon's gonna go to town. Now, if it's a shadow Flygon, you want to swap into your Furret right away, just like with the non-shadow, but here's where it differs. You want to shield their first move, and then you want to go for the Trailblaze of your own. That way, if your opponent lets the Trailblaze go, you can let their next Dragon Claw go and actually sucker punch them down before they Dragon Tail you down. And if they end up shielding that Trailblaze, then you can then let their next Dragon Claw go and still reach a Swift, where at that point you get switch, or your opponent has to go down both shields, where you just come in with Talonflame and get an extra Incinerate's worth of energy there. GG's to my opponent last game. Now this one, Talonflame Lead, get out your pens and papers, because there are so many different ways that this could go, and I'm about to go through them here. Go for your flame charge right away. If you win CMP and your opponent shields that flame charge, then you're golden. You're just going to give up your shields back and just start spamming off those flies as soon as you get them, because you'll then have you'll take out their Talon, you'll get switch advantage, you'll still have a healthy Talon that's now boosted. If you win CMP and your opponent let the flame charge go, then you're going to go for a fly on the next move. Then you're going to shield their move, go for a fly on your next one, shield their second move. And if they end up shielding your second move, you're then going to stay in and go for a fly again, force the final shield from them, or switch. And if it forces the final shield from them, you're going to let your Talon go down and get a nice sucker punch advantage on your Furret. If you lose CMP and your opponent shields the flame charge like you saw in this scenario, then you're going to shield their first move, go for the fly on your second move, of which obviously you're going to lose CMP on, but call the fly from them, as you will survive the fly since they're not boosted, and your fly will KO them if they let it go. So they're forced to either go down 2 shields or give up switch advantage. And if they go down 2 shields, you're just going to save swap into your Furret right away. And then the fourth and final situation is if you lose CMP and your opponent lets the flame charge go, you're just going to play out the 2 shield scenario, and then you're going to catch their third move on your Furret. So those are pretty much the 4 ways of playing out the Talonflame Mirror when you are the flame charge and fly user. Here, Cradily, we need to under tap it. Just make sure my opponent doesn't catch the move. We take out that Diggersby with the Grass Knot and then bullet seed down their own Cradily as we're able to take this one. GG's. Next battle, Talonflame into Cradily. Now, if they're on Acid or Bullet Seed, you're still gonna stay in and start ramping up your Incinerates with Flame Charge. Just be careful and note good timing for each the 2-turn versus 3-turn fast moves your opponent can have. They're on Acid, so they're gonna go for that Rock Tomb before I get to my move. I'm gonna go for one more Incinerate and then Flame Charge for good timing, boost my attack right up. My opponent lets it go, and now I'm going to reach a second Flame Charge before they reach a second Rock Tomb, which is very, very nice because that either takes them out or forces a shield from them. So I get the shield back. Now I'm going to go for one more Incinerate. Doesn't quite KO them. And if I stayed and did another Incinerate, they would have reached a third Rock Tomb. So you just swap into your Furret and snipe it down with the Sucker Punch. Now they come in with their own Talon. I'm able to outpace to that Swift before they reach the Brave Bird. Brave Bird will come through and take us out. And here, I'm going to come in with my own Talonflame. And they pivot to Swampert, so I'm just going to fly to try and stall the switch clock. Can't quite get out in time, so I will lose my Talon. That is okay, though, since Cradily will be able to close out this match with my opponent not being able to move on their Talonflame yet. I just need to make sure I properly overfarm here, so I will be able to outpace the Talon to a move in the end game. I tank a Hydro Cannon, go for the Grass Knot here to take out the Swampert. And with the Talonflame being 2 Incinerates off a fly, I can just throw my Rock Tomb as soon as I get it. Could have thrown 3 there for good timing, but no need to when it's a double super effective Rock Tomb and it knocks the Talon out of the sky. GG's. Next battle, Talonflame into Magcargo. Tricky one. And it's a little bit of a gutsy call here. Swap into your Furret and you're going to throw your Trailblaze right away. I know it's on alignment, and in this case, it bites me and they're able to sneak an entire Incinerate through. But I want to say about 80% of the time, your opponent will throw their Rock Tomb as soon as they get it, which would be on CMP because the 1 turn it takes to switch. And then they will pivot into something else, which oftentimes is, you know, a Furret, as you see here, or something else of the sorts. But I know it's counterintuitive, and if it sneaks, it hurts, but it's well worth it because you need that chip damage on the Magcargo. Even if they sneak an entire Incinerate through, you need that Trailblaze worth a chip just in case your Talonflame gets on it in the end game. Because if your Talonflame gets on it in the end game, you won't be able to handle it otherwise. Here they have a Cradily in the back, and down shields, my Talon has nowhere to go and is just as good as toast. My only win condition here is trying to read a Magcargo overheat combo play and then catch it onto my Talon. We see the combo play. Did we get the overheat catch? Were they locked into the animation? They were. We catch the overheat and we're all of a sudden right back in the game because the Magcargo's energy is gone. They fire off the Rock Tomb now to take out my Talonflame. We can come in, throw 3 Bullet Seeds, and then the Rock Tomb of our own for good timing. This will take out their Magcargo, but they give up their final shield so they can get a Rock Tomb debuff on me. But it's too little too late, as all we need to do is watch for their Cradily. They're 1 Bullet Seed away from their own Rock Tomb. We just fire ours off before they fire theirs off. Probably should have gone for the Grass Knot just to make sure it KO'd, since Grass Knot does do more than Rock Tomb. But our own Rock Tomb did KO. Back in comes the Magcargo. We outpace to our final Rock Tomb, and what seemed like an impossible scenario, Cradily able to fight back from the trenches and take that one. GG's. Now we're getting into the 5-0 set that got us legend rank as we get a fantastic lead Talonflame into Abomasnow. In this one, I want to focus on the safe swap. I'm going to explain kind of like the ground type safe swap there. If it's a Diggersby, you bring in Cradily, of course. If it's a Hippo safe swap and you recognize it's the Hippo just by the pure ground typing, you know, it could be Kanto Marowak. So take it with a grain of salt by the typing and your reaction time. But if it's a Hippowdon, most of them are running Ice Fang, and you're going to want to come in Furret. It's no problem if you come in Cradily like I do here, because you just spam off those rock tombs. Since your opponent knows they'll be able to guarantee switch advantage there, you just double debuff them, and then you come in Furret and just get a ton of energy on Furret. And 2 shields, Talon, Furret, doesn't matter what they have, like you're in a great spot either way. If it's a Gligar safe swap, you're going to want to stay in with your Talon, tank their Aerial Ace if they throw it. If they don't, it's even better, but tank the move if they throw it, go for a fly right away, and then pivot into your Furret. That way it allows you to maintain switch and keep your Talon on that very advantageous lead matchup there. They have a Gastro, and we are just in a great spot. Weather Ball takes us out. We just save our shield for the Furret, and my opponent does concede there. GG's. Next battle. This one we're gonna focus on Shadow Blaziken Lead. If they swap out, you'll just play that accordingly to whatever they swap out in. But if they stay in, like, it's actually not as good of a matchup for Talonflame as I thought it was, just because of how much these counters and Blaze Kick chunk. Like, that did way more than I thought, but it's a Shadow Blaziken, so what do I know I shouldn't have expected otherwise. But this is also another part where Flame Charge is very nice. Boost up that Incinerate, get extra damage there, and now you outpace this next Fly for some massive damage. If you stay in, they'll farm you down. So just pivot out into your Furret after that, shield their move, and you'll be able to get a nice Sucker Punch down if they stay in. And the good news about a Blaziken Lead is the backline tends to be a little bit soft to both Furret and Cradily. Granted, Magcargo isn't quite soft, but Blaziken tends to be their only hard answer to your own backline. So I do land a Trailblaze. We'll shield up this Rock Tomb as I want my Furret around, knowing that I need my Furret to be able to properly farm down that Blaziken. Since my Cradily's on Bullet Seed, I would take way too much counter damage. My opponent survives that Trailblaze, so we have a very easy catch right onto our Talonflame as they're forced to throw right away. Now I just come in Cradily here to get a nice Bullet Seed down. They pivot out to prevent that from happening to a jump bluff, and here's that backline for Blaziken Lead that our backline likes to see. Land the first Rock Tomb before they're able to land the hard-hitting Acrobatics or Energy Ball. This one's on Energy Ball, no defense drop, thankfully. And now we're gonna fire off a Rock Tomb on CMP to their next Energy Ball. I was over farming here. I know this is on alignment and we get lucky that they throw 2 so they don't force it sneak an extra Fairy Wind, but at the same time they're debuffed and the Fairy Wind's not going to do much. But I always wanted to make sure I was over farming here just in case for when the Blaziken came in, I would have residual energy if needed. But they hard swap into the Blaziken. We pivot back into that Furret we saved for that exact reason, Sucker Punch it down, and then Sucker Punch both the Jump Bluff and Magcargo down. GG's. Next battle, Talonflame into a Furret Lead. Again, another situation where Flame Charge is crucial, and there are 2 separate ways to play this out as well. Your opponent will tend to throw the Swift right here as they get it, and that's fine. You'll let it go, throw 1 more Incinerate, and then the Flame Charge. If they don't throw their Swift right away, you're just going to throw your Flame Charge right away. Doesn't really matter. But here you'll see me go for the Flame Charge. If your opponent lets it go, like my opponent does here, that's fine. You're just going to shield their next move, Incinerate them down, and now you'll leave boosted to either deal massive damage to whatever they come in with or force a shield. And either of those is great, because if you land that massive damage, your backline's probably just going to win you the rest of the game. And if you force a shield, you now have alignment on even shield parity. The only thing you need to watch out for is a potential Magcargo. If they come in with a Magcargo, then you're just going to pivot into your Furret right away and save that energy for later. If your opponent shields your first Flame Charge in order to respect a Brave Bird, you want to shield their second move and under tap your Fly so you don't get farmed down. And if they let that Fly go, you have switch advantage. If they shield that Fly, instantly swap into your Furret in order to prevent your opponent from getting a Sucker Punch down of your Talon, as well as saving your Talon for potential catch in the end game later. Here, my opponent has a Swampert. I full send the Grass Knot, knowing that I have the Trailblaze on the Furret. And if I survive 2 Hydros, awesome, I'll get off my Trailblaze, but I don't think it looks like I survived 2 Hydros, and that's perfectly fine. because that way I just manage energy with Cradily, overfarm to the max, take out the Swampert, and then take out the Jump Bluff because it's basically dry. But my opponent makes an extremely smart play here. They undercharge the Hydro Cannon because their win condition is getting a farm down with their Jump Bluff to outpace my Cradily to move, but they undercharge just too much for able to hang on with 1 HP, clutch up, and reach that swift take the Jump Bluff out. GG's. Next battle, we're going to be focusing on the Magcargo safe swap here. You see me bring in Furret, reactionary. Do not do that. Bring in your Cradily, and then you're going to play out the Zero Shield scenario. With them being up and Incinerate, the Zero Shield scenario is the only matchup that Cradily does win. So that way you get to maintain alignment. But if you lose alignment and your opponent gives up a shield, that is fine. Come in with Furret, sucker punch them down, throw a Trailblaze if you have to, doesn't matter. You have a shield advantage Talonflame and now an energy worth Furret that with the Magcargo out of the way, there's really nothing on your opponent's team that can handle that. Even if they have a Water Gun Quagsire, Furret with that energy, the shield advantage Talon that can potentially get an Incinerate later on, you're just in a great spot. So my opponent here gets Switch, and then they end up giving it up, which was kind of confusing because they had a Venu. They worked hard to get Switch to the Magcargo safe swap. I was like, surely it's something like a Swampert or Water Gun Quagsire in the back. They're going to maintain alignment and then just take me out that way. But they swap, and I was like, huh? But Talonflame makes sense because if my Cradily gets up a ton of energy, I can just debuff spam the Venu and one-shot the Talon, or they didn't want to be able to let my Talon get too much of an energy lead. Otherwise, it would just sweep their Talon and their Venu. So once I saw the Talon, the play made more sense. But in doing so, they're just sealing their fate, as Cradily will be able to take out the Magcargo here. Or, excuse me, get their final shield. But they are just way too debuffed at this point, especially after full sending that first overheat and then getting debuffed with another Rock Tomb. So my opponent does end up conceding. GG's. Now getting into the last battle of the video, we get another fantastic lead, Talonflame into Abomasnow. And this one, I don't really have much for. They safe swap into a Shadow Magmortar, and, you know, I don't really have an answer for this. So I'm just going to stay in Flame Charge. See how Shadow Magmortar is very glassy. See how much those Incinerates are already chunking it. So might as well just stay in and ramp up my Incinerates, especially since they're basically going to be shielding anything. Now Magmortar, I'm trying to remember its moveset. I know it's Fire Punch and then like your choice of Scorching Sands or Thunderbolt. So I was expecting the potential Thunderbolt. I get double Fire Punch baited, and I'm like, okay, this either feels really bad since they're on Scorching Sands, or they are making great baits with a Thunderbolt. And if they do have Thunderbolt, I am forced to throw that fly right there. Otherwise, they would reach it. They end up letting it go, coming with Water Gun Quagsire, and I get the final shield with a fly, pivot into Furret, and I'm never throwing Trailblaze right there. The only reason why your opponent is staying in with their Quagsire against your Furret is to catch the Trailblaze onto something. Like they're not just gonna let their entire Quagsire go to a Furret's Trailblaze. So that's why you see us go for the Swift right there, expecting them to catch it. Abomasnow takes us out with an energy ball. We incinerate them down. Now pivot into Cradily. We're not in Stone Edge plus Aquatail range. They need to go for double Stone Edges, which you cannot hold back-to-back Stone Edges. So Cradily is in a primed position to sweep. As you'll see, we do hang on and then get to this Grass Knot, which will take out an entire family of Shadow Quagsire. Down it goes. And that does secure the 5-0 set, which you'll see will bring us over the line from 2988 all the way up to 3056. Give us that little legend emblem. We get the screenshot. Now we're going to take a look at the Leon Battle Tower style pose. Battle Tower Leon style pose, excuse me. What a mouthful. Doing the little hat wave. We get a close in and now a zoomed out look at it. Now, next set, we did end up going through 2 as well. Take a look at the Pika Libre, still hunting for that shiny. Not quite there, who knows, maybe we'll get it one day, as we will aptly and properly name it Season 23 Legend. And that is that. Yeah, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, Flame Charge Talon, it's the real MVP here. That ramped up incinerate damage, plus its ability to catch opponents off guard, oh, so good. Legend, top 50 on the global leaderboards, the team works. And please let me know if you have any more questions on how to play out some leads or safe swaps I didn't cover here today. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Love to hear what you have to say. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.